Magitek, Book 1 of the Rift Chronicles. Written by BR Kingsolver. Narrated by Chris Ducart. With some daylight hours to play with, I headed up to Roland Park to talk to Diana Benning about her daughter. I called ahead and she was at her country club. She suggested that I meet her there for lunch. Even though Diana had left word at the front desk that I was coming, I had to flash my badge to get through their security. They had some silly appropriate dress rule that excluded assault weapons. I was escorted to the dining room where I found Diana sitting on the terrace. She looked even better in person than in the pictures I'd seen when I looked her up online. Mages age slower than normal humans, and dressed in skimpy tennis whites, she looked great for a woman with a 17-year-old daughter. Mrs. Benning? Yes, Danica, is it? Have a seat. I waited to order until you arrived. I was right on time and made a note that Mrs. Benning believed in punctuality. The brownie waiter gave me precisely 2 minutes to browse the menu, then appeared to take our orders. Once we were alone again, I pulled out a small notebook and a pen. Your husband said that Sarah was at a concert rehearsal and left in her own car to drive home around 9 p.m., is that correct? Yes, it's only a couple of miles, and it usually takes her 5 or 10 minutes at most. But she had told me earlier that she needed to stop by a store on her way home. When she wasn't home by 10 o'clock, I called and got her voicemail. Then I called Cassie, her best friend, and she was at home. She said Sarah left the school the same time she did. Justice Benning had identified Cassie Oliver, also from a Hundreds family, as one of Sarah's friends. Mr. Benning said that Sarah didn't have a boyfriend. Just between us, I find that hard to believe. Diana turned and gazed out the window for a moment, then said, No, she didn't have any trouble attracting boys or girls. She turned back to me. Danica, may I assume that anything I tell you is in confidence? Absolutely. My boss, Deputy Commissioner Whitaker, tagged me for this because he values my discretion. Tom is an old friend. She nodded and took a deep breath. My husband and I are not religious, and we haven't preached rigid conventional morality to our children. We believe in being open-minded. Conventional ethics, yes. I think you'll find that Justice has a reputation in business for ethical dealing. Now, that said, we don't police our daughter as strictly as some parents do. As to relationships, shall we say that Sarah is eclectic and not at all monogamous? But your husband is not aware of this? Sarah doesn't bother her father with things that would make him uncomfortable. You know how fathers are about their daughters. I didn't from my own experience, but I had heard about it. So there is a possibility that one of her friends might have taken things a little more seriously than she intended. Yes, I'm afraid so. And she takes risks, sometimes, that I don't think are wise. I've cautioned her, but I don't want to come down on her so hard that she stops confiding in me. Anyone you know who might have wanted to harm her, or who she might have wanted to spend more time with? Not that I can think of. You should talk to Cassie, and also Geraldine Novak, and William Moncrief. They're probably more up-to-date on her activities. Are you worried about her? I asked because Diana seemed terribly composed. I watched as her eyes misted, and her composure seemed to crack for a moment. She bit her lip, then said, Miss James, I love my daughter. Right now, she's finding her own way. But I guess I hope that someday, after she's found it, we might be best friends. I had that with my mother before she died. Yes, I'm worried. Bring her home, and I'll personally make it worth your while on top of whatever arrangement you have with my husband. While we ate, she gave me some additional details on Sarah's friends and activities. She also knew the names of a few of Sarah's past flings, male and female. To her knowledge, none had lasted more than 2 or 3 weeks. At the end, when I got ready to leave, she said, Ms. James, maybe I'm off base, and I'm hesitant to mention this, but you might check out Martin Johansson. He's a business associate of my husband. He's always sort of given me the creeps, the way he watches me, and he seems to be a little too attentive to my daughter. A man his age shouldn't constantly stare at a teenager. Do you know what I mean? Yes, I do. Thank you for your time, Mrs. Benning, and for being so open with me. One last thing, has anyone contacted you or your husband about paying a ransom? She shook her head. No, although that's what I expected at first. But nothing. Justice would have paid, of course. I mean, we're not hurting for money. Diana could have used her talent of empathic projection on me to convince me of her sincerity, but she didn't. Perhaps her composure was something learned, a front for the world, because she was so aware of emotions and her ability to manipulate them. I wondered how much of that she had taught her daughter. Sarah didn't go to a public school, of course, but rather to the top private all-girls school in the metro area. I had gone there, briefly, before they shipped me out to a boarding school. The evening she disappeared, she had been at a concert rehearsal and left in her own car. She hadn't made the 2 miles home. Considering what kind of car she drove, I needed to think about carjacking. $100,000 car would be tempting for a thief. I drove by Sarah's school and parked in one of the visitors' spaces near the student parking lot to wait for classes to end. The cars there were a lot fancier than the ones in the faculty staff parking lot. When Cassie Oliver came out, I followed her. She drove to an area with bars and restaurants popular with students from Johns Hopkins and Loyola universities and parked on the street. I parked in a loading zone and put my Metro PD card on the dash, then hurried to catch up with her. Miss Oliver. Before getting out of the car, Cassie had taken off her school jacket, unbuttoned the top 3 buttons of her shirt, put on some makeup, and brushed out her braids. Compared to the girl who left school, she looked at least 3 years older. Her thick chestnut hair framed a very pretty face, and I didn't think it was an accident that her shirt was at least 1 size too small. The jacket probably hid that when she was at school. She stopped and gave me a cautious, "Yes?" "I'm Danica James. Sarah Benning's parents asked me to help them find her. Sarah's mother suggested I speak with you." "Oh. Yeah, well, I'm supposed to meet someone." "Right, I'm sure that's important. Perhaps you can spare me some time after we find her body." A little bit aggressive, but time wasn't on my side. Cassie reacted as though I'd slapped her. Her face reddened and she stared down at her feet. When she looked up, she said, "I'm sorry. Look, can I tell my friend that I'm going to be late?" "Sure, go ahead." I moved off a little distance to give her space and she pulled out her phone. I was sure she thought I was out of earshot, but thanks to my mother's father, my hearing was a little better than normal. "Hey, something's come up, and I'm gonna be a little late." Cassie said into her phone, "Wait for me?" "Yeah, sure." "Yeah, I still want to. I just have to take care of something first." She hung up and I walked with her to a diner across the street where I got a cup of coffee and bought her a lemonade. "You were with Sarah the night she disappeared?" "Yes, at practice." "You play an instrument?" "Flute. She plays clarinet. We have orchestral practice once a week and we play in the jazz band." "Her parents told me that she usually comes home 10 or 15 minutes after that practice is over." Cassie nodded. "We have calculus at 8 o'clock the next morning and Mr. Jarrett is a..." She hesitated. "Well, he's strict. If you don't have your homework, he'll call you out in front of the whole class. And you have to be ready for practice, so Sarah always did her calc homework afterward." Her mom said Sarah planned on stopping at a store on her way home. You wouldn't happen to know what store. She shook her head. "Do you know who she's currently seeing?" Cassie stiffened a little. "She doesn't have a boyfriend." "So everyone tells me. That's not what I asked." She blushed. "She's not a slut." "I didn't say she was, but I have gotten the impression that she plays the field. No biggie, 17 is way too young to get tied down, don't you think?" "Yeah." For the first time, she seemed to relax a little. "Some people don't see things that way." I shrugged. "I don't judge. My parents never married, so I had my fill of self-righteous assholes." Cassie gave me a quick, nervous smile. "You don't know what it's like in our social circles. Everyone expects you to be perfect." "I think I do. My grandmother is Olivia Finlay. The Finlay clan was one of the 10. Of course, my grandmother was roundly ostracized for marrying my grandfather, but after his death, she was accepted back into the family, although encouraged to keep a low profile. That was long ago, and she had gained status from her business acumen and as the sister of the clan patriarch. James? Magitek? If I had a nickel for every time I heard that question phrased exactly the same way, I could have retired. Yeah, believe me, I know about families, from a number of different angles. So, was Sarah nervous, upset, strange that night? Anything out of the ordinary?
Not really. I've tried to think back since she disappeared, and I can't think of anything.
Who's she seeing?
She has an on-again, off-again thing with Joel Nunkesser. That's currently sort of off again. It's sort of a friends with benefits thing, you know, but she tends to like older guys.
How old?
You know, college guys.
Any names you can give me? She reeled off 5 names, 3 of whom she said were recent, but she knew the surnames only of 2. We talked a little longer, but she didn't have much to add. I gave her my card and told her to call me if she remembered or heard anything that might be pertinent. You've been listening to Magitek, The Rift Chronicles, Book 1, by BR Kingsolver, narrated by Chris Ducart. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with BR Kingsolver. Copyright 2020 by BR Kingsolver.